Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to go over with you the budget that I have set for our vacation to Los Angeles and Disneyland. Alright, I'm going to break this down into three parts. The first part are things that I have already paid for even before we leave. The second part is the things I'm going to have to pay for while we're there. And the third part is a couple of things that are optional that I'm budgeting for, but we may not need to spend money on. Before I tell you all of these costs, I also want to let you know that there are two ways that you can pay for the main parts of your trip to Disneyland. You can either book a Disneyland package, and I did have that booked originally, and in the process of changing back and forth between Disneyland and Walt Disney World, I ended up canceling that. And then when I went to rebook Disneyland, I realized I couldn't afford to do a package. Even with a promotion that they were having at the time, I wanted to stay at Paradise Pier Hotel, it still was going to be too much money. And one of the main reasons I was switching is because I was trying to make the trip less expensive than what Walt Disney World was going to cost us. So I had to rule out doing a package and stay off site. Now, the advantage at Disneyland is there's so many good off-site hotel options, even within walking distance or a very short drive. Or you can even use the ART, the Anaheim Resort Transportation shuttle buses that go around, which are just for a small cost. You can use Uber, Lyft. Everything is much more condensed and compact at Disneyland. So you definitely should very strongly consider staying at an off-site hotel at Disneyland because they're still very, very close. I mean, honestly, there's a few right across the street hotels from Disneyland that are not owned by Disney that are physically closer to the main entrance of Disneyland than the three Disney-owned on-site resort hotels at Disneyland. Okay, so you can either book it as a package, which would include your hotel stay and your tickets. If you do that, you have to make a $200 deposit and you have to pay the entire package off by 30 days. You can pay it in increments, payments over time, but you have to pay the full balance off 30 days before your trip. That is a nice way to go if you want to know that you have the whole thing paid off before you leave and you don't want to have to worry about paying for your hotel or your tickets or whatever when you're there. Right now, I mean, no matter when you're going to Disney, you have to buy your tickets ahead of time because you can't get park reservations. And this is true for any Disney park right now. You can't get park reservations unless you already have tickets. You have to have the tickets before they'll let you make a park reservation. And it can be pretty hard to get a park reservation. If you're trying to get a park reservation for the same month that you're going, that close, you might not be able to get one. So you really have to be planning in advance and get the tickets ahead of time. So if you get a package, the tickets are included in that. You don't have to have paid the package off to book your park reservations. You can make the park reservations as soon as you pay the deposit on the package. The other way that you can book a vacation to Disneyland or a trip to Disneyland, you can buy the tickets on your own, either directly from Disneyland or you can buy them from Undercover Tourist, which is really the only authorized Disney ticket seller that I recommend, and then book your hotel on your own. And that's what I ended up doing. Because when I tried to switch it back from Walt Disney World to Disneyland the last time, I was on the phone for a very long time with a Disneyland cast member, and I was going through all of the Good Neighbor hotels because I realized right away, I said, okay, what would be the price if I stay at Paradise Pier? And she told me it was almost $5,000 some dollars. And I said, nope, I need it to be, the total for hotel and tickets needs to be less than $4,500, I think is what $4,500 or $4,000. I needed the total to be less than that. And I can tell you I paid $1,320 for the tickets. I'll tell you right now, in total for the hotel while we're at Disneyland, I'm paying $1,573. So for what would have been the package, if you will, hotel and tickets, I am paying $2,893. I think I wanted to get it under $3,500. I think that's what it was. And so I'm getting it considerably less than that by staying off-site. But anyway, I was going through all the Good Neighbor hotels with her, and she was telling me they were all full. And this was like when I called back at the beginning of November, I think. I was so frustrated. I was almost in tears, and I was on the phone with her for like an hour. And I was like, how can they all be full? So after I got off the phone with her, it was late in the evening. I took a shower, and while I was in the shower, it suddenly occurred to me, this is stupid. Forget the package. I can probably book one of these hotels myself and then just buy the tickets and get it that way. And sure enough, I could, because the thing with those packages are only a certain number of rooms at each of those Good Neighbor hotels are set aside or designated to be part of a Disneyland package. That doesn't mean that the hotel itself is fully booked. Far from it. When I went on myself and checked some of the hotels she and I had been discussing, they had plenty of vacancy. So keep that in mind, okay? If you can't get the hotel you want through buying a package, try to just book it directly yourself and then buy your ticket separately. That's what I did. Okay, so here's the thing that I've already paid for before we leave. The airfare, which was approximately $1,200. Now, I did end up spending more than I would have liked because I changed my flight like 4 times between Florida and California and changed my dates and things like that. I did end up bumping it up. I think what I originally had paid for the tickets to Florida, by the time I got to the flight I'm actually taking, I think each ticket went up like $60, $70. So they increased in price from what I had originally booked. But looking at what it would cost to book tickets to Disneyland, like if I was going to book them right now today, it still would have been this if that was the only flight I was booking like originally. So about $1,200, so about $400 each for our tickets. Okay, I prepaid airport parking at the Minneapolis airport. And there's something specific I want to say about this. You probably remember I made a video in the past. I'll link it up here. We usually park in the value parking over at the Terminal 2, the Humphrey Terminal, and then we take the light rail over to the main airport at the Minneapolis airport. But I don't want to do that in the winter. And here's why. I'm not taking my giant winter coat on an airplane. And there are no lockers that you can leave there's no coat check and there's no long-term lockers at the Minneapolis airport. I checked. There are lockers at the Minneapolis airport, but they're cleared out like every 12 hours. You can't leave stuff in there long-term. So if you live in a northern climate where it's very cold, like when I woke up this morning, it was -1. It's very cold here in January. You have to wear your coat to the airport, but you don't want to take your coat with you to Florida or the Caribbean or California or Hawaii or whatever, but there's no place to leave it. So what we do is we leave our coats in the car. But because we're leaving our coats in the car, we want to minimize the distance that we have to walk from the car to inside the airport and make that as short as possible. We don't want to spend 20 minutes standing outside in the outside platform waiting for the light rail to come and take us to the other terminal. So because we're traveling in January and because it's winter and it's very cold and we're going to have to leave our coats in the car, I prepaid for the good parking at the main terminal that's right, you just run into the door to get inside. And it was $240 for the length of my trip. I do think you're still getting a better rate when you prepay like that, and you can do it right online, than I would be if I waited and paid when I got there and then paid again when I left. So I'm getting that prepay rate. You have to tell them, what time are you getting there and what time are you leaving. They don't give you any money off if your total time in the parking ramp ends up being shorter than that. But if your total time with your car in the parking ramp ends up being longer than that, they do charge you the difference. Okay, I paid for PhotoPass at Disneyland. Now, if you get Disney Genie Plus, you do get free photo downloads for your days that you have the Disney Genie Plus. But I'm not sure if we're going to use Disney Genie Plus every single day of our trip. And there are PhotoPass photographers in other locations, I think, like in the resorts in Disney Springs and things like that, or downtown Disney, sorry, where we might not be in a park and be able to get our picture taken. So just to cover our bases, it's not very expensive. It's $78. So I have a week-long PhotoPass for $78 that I prepaid. So we'll get all of the pictures they take of us. Any of the PhotoPass photographers at Disneyland, any picture they take of us, I will get. Our tickets were $1,320. That was 3 5-day park hopper tickets. That's how much they cost. I paid $25 for tickets to the Academy of Motion Picture Sciences Museum, which is a brand new museum that just opened in downtown Los Angeles in September. And it looks really cool, and we're very excited to go to this. The kids are getting in free. Thanks to a special grant by some donor, everybody 17 and under gets into the museum free, at least right now. So for expenses that I prepaid before we even leave on the trip, totals $2,863. Okay, the expenses that I'm going to have to pay for while we're there. I broke it down into two parts, the LA portion of our trip and the Disneyland portion of our trip. Okay, but first I will tell you that in total for hotels for the entire 9-night trip, I am spending $2,006 on hotels. Hotels in LA are pretty expensive, but I'm averaging between $150 and $200 a night, so it's not terrible. Okay, so for the LA portion of our trip, the things that I will have to pay for, we're staying at a hotel right near the Orange County Airport when we get there because we get in very late. That's $202. Then we're staying at a hotel in Glendale, up near Griffith Park for one night. That's $231. And I'm renting a car, and that's going to cost $233. And then I'm estimating approximately $200 for food for the LA, it's just a couple days, portion of our trip. So that totals $866 for that portion. And then for the time that we're at Disneyland, our room at the Homewood Suites is going to cost $1,573 for 7 nights. This is kind of not neither portion, but checked bags is going to be $180. That's $30 for each suitcase times 3 of us. One's going there, one's coming back. And I'm budgeting $1,750 for food while we're at Disneyland. And again, I probably cushioned that a little on the high side, but I prefer to do that and end up spending less than the other way around. Okay, and then I budgeted $88 for a taxi. I'm going to be renting the car for the time we're going around LA, and then I'm returning the rental car, and we're just going to take a taxi from the Orange County Airport to the Homewood Suites and back again. And I looked it up and to determine how much that would cost, and it's $44 each way. So $88 for round trip and a taxi. The rest of the time we're at Disneyland will be on foot. Coming to the optional expenses. I have 2 optional expenses that are not necessarily things we will spend our money on, but I want to make sure I have the money for them in case we decide that we need them. First is Disney Genie Plus, the paid version of Disney Genie, which just started at Disneyland recently on December 8th, 2021. I don't know if we're going to get it every day, and I don't know if we're going to get it at all. I mean, it'll depend on what the wait times are at the park. But even if we don't end up buying Disney Genie Plus and using that, to skip some of the lines like FastPass used to be, I might end up buying one or more of the individual Lightning Lane attractions like Web Slingers or Rise of the Resistance if they're using boarding passes and I'm not able to get a boarding pass. So I budgeted $300 for that scenario. Okay, and then I'm not sure if I'm going to need to rent an ECV or a mobility scooter or not. If I do, I have a couple options. I can either rent one directly from Disneyland each day, or I can rent one from an outside company and have them deliver it to my hotel and use it to go between the hotel and the parks too. That would actually be a little less expensive than renting from Disney. So we'll just have to see how I do and how my ankle feels. But I budgeted $300 for that, so that's $600. So for the Disneyland portion, including the checked bag, is $3,591. And then my optional expenses is $600. So all of that together comes to a total of $7,920. So that is what I am budgeting for our trip to Disneyland, including stuff that I've already paid for. And I am going to make another video for you when we come back telling you exactly what I ended up spending. And we will see how close I was to this budgeted amount. So stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed. Give me a thumbs up down below if you enjoy this type of video where I talk about money for travel and budgeting and things like that. And I hope this is also helpful to you to see how specifically I break it down and how I factor in every possible expense that we might have. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you all have a great day and safe travels.